Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Time for another fun video, and today we're going to be doing some masking blending. So it's going to be so fun. I love this technique. So we're going to use the Grateful Blessing stamp set. It's got lots of good, bold, big sentiments. I love that. And we're going to use these images as well. So let's get started. Let me show you our cards we're making today. Aren't they pretty? So these are the masking technique we're going to do with all the blending. Isn't that just beautiful, those colors? So we'll be using some Berry Burst, some Bubble Bath, and some Crumb Cake. Hey, Ty! Okay, so let's get started. Let's do the inside piece first. So I'm going to bring in a piece of basic white. Remember, if you want any of the measurements, the step-by-step instructions, the printable free PDF, then just make sure that you go to stampinqueenbee.com, my blog. You can find it there. Or you can find it on our Buzz Bulletin that I send out every single week, and you can subscribe to that as well. Okay, so we're going to start with some Crumb Cake. This is our inside piece, remember, and we're going to stamp this image right in the corner. So we have that. We're going to put our Crumb Cake aside and bring in our Berry Burst. And so for this, we're going to do a little bit of blending right over it. So I'm just going to use my Berry Burst mini blending brush. I have one for every color, and I just put a label on the end with the color, and then I know which is which. And so then we're just going to start off the page a little bit and kind of circular motion. We're just going to do a light little blending right over that. Okay, so our inside piece is done. That was easy, right? So you can see it just gives it a little bit of color on there, kind of softens our image a bit, right? So we'll put that to the side. And now we're gonna get to the bones of our card. So I've got another piece of basic white here. And I've got some of our masking paper. So our masking paper comes in a pack just like this. You get 12 sheets, and you can cut it and do anything that you need. You can stamp an image on it like I've done. This is just a extra scrap, but you could stamp an image and cut it out and then mask with that. You can cut it in lines. That's what we're gonna do today. So I'm gonna take out a piece, and I just keep mine in one of our stamp cases, and I just label it masking paper. So that way it's all in one. It fits perfectly in the stamp cases. You can get those in a 4-pack if you want some extra stamping cases. They're great for storing some things. So I'm gonna bring in my paper trimmer here, and this is our masking paper, and so it's sticky on one side. You can see there's like a backing, right, that you'll peel off. And so we're gonna actually cut this. We're gonna use 2 strips for today's card. So we're gonna use a 1-inch strip, just like that. And then we're gonna use a 1/2 inch strip. So I'm just measuring to the right here of my trimmer. And then we'll get 2 perfectly straight pieces here. And then I'm gonna take my basic white here, and I'm lining it up with my grid paper. So I love our grid paper for this reason. And I'm gonna take first this skinnier piece. We're just gonna leave that. It's just lined up in the straight lines here. And then I'm gonna peel off my ends of my masking paper here. So we got sticky side down. I'm gonna hold my paper in these lines, And then I'm gonna line my masking paper I cut just up at the top here with those lines. And then we're just gonna press it down. Well, hopefully it doesn't do that. See, I didn't press it. Okay, so let's try that again. So we're lining it here at the top, pressing it down as we go, and then we'll make sure that it's lined again at the bottom. So this does a couple things. It's gonna hold my paper in place, and it's also gonna make sure that it's a straight line. And then I'm gonna do the same thing with this larger piece. And so this one, I'm just gonna put it over this one. And then on this right side, we're just gonna make sure that it's lined up with the lines over here. So we've got three kind of sections here that we're gonna work with. So I'm gonna start with my berry burst. And before I do this, the reason that I really love our masking paper, yes, you could use masking tape or Post-it tape, something like that. But here's what I found is our masking paper is not as tacky as even some of the low tack tape and things. And so it doesn't leave a residue on your paper. You know, like some tape will leave a little bit of sticky residue, and our masking paper does not. And then also it removes, so it doesn't hurt your paper or anything like that. So I love all of that. So we're just gonna go ahead and get some berry burst here. So again, using our blending brushes. And I'm just gonna start off my paper here a little bit. And we're just going to, in a circular motion, add some of our berry burst color to all three of our little sections here. So I'm just gonna blend. You can see I'm just going in a circular motion. Anywhere I want it a little bit darker, I'm just gonna get over it a little bit more. So you can see I added a little bit darker in both of these corner areas. And then over here, we're just gonna kind of go in the middle a bit. Okay, so we've got our berry bursts there. Now I'm gonna bring in our crumb cake. And the same thing, I have a crumb cake mini brush. I prefer the mini ones. We have larger ones as well. I have smaller hands, so I think I prefer the mini ones. They're just give me a little more control, I think. Okay, so now we're gonna add in some of our crumb cake. And again, just if you keep going over it in that circular motion where you want it a little bit darker, and then in some of the other areas that you want it a little bit lighter, you just don't go over it quite as much. Anytime you need some more ink, you can just go ahead and do that. I like to start off the paper just so that it gives it doesn't put like such a bold mark right when you touch it to the paper, right? So I'm just adding these colors into every section that we started with, right? So we've got our three sections, and I'm gonna use three colors in all of the sections that we have there. Okay, so I think that looks good. Now we're gonna bring in a third color, some bubble bath. This kind of reminds me of like Neapolitan ice cream or something. Okay, so we're just gonna get some ink. This one's lighter, so I feel like it needs a little bit more ink, right? Okay, so this one, we're just gonna now blend the bubble bath, which is like that lighter pink, in all of the white areas. So you can see I'm just kind of going over it and blending those other two colors together. Just kind of that circular motion. So there's no white. And then up in our top one here. I love our blending brushes. You can create like your own designer paper with them. You can soften any designs. Okay, and I think we need just a little bit more here in the bottom. So anywhere you want it to be just a little darker, we'll just go over it a tiny bit more. Okay, so now we are done with those. And now I'm gonna bring in some Memento. So we're gonna leave our masking paper on. We're gonna bring in some Memento black ink, and we're gonna do some stamping. So you can do, you'll see in my designs, each one is gonna be a little different, right? Because your blending is a little bit different every time. And also you can stamp a little bit different every time. So we're gonna go ahead and ink this up. This is the same image we used on the inside of our card. And we're just gonna stamp these right along the bottom. So our masking paper is kind of serving a stamping purpose as well as a blending purpose, right? And I think maybe one more right off the side. Okay, so we've got our bottom section done. Now we're gonna take our bigger stamp here and we're gonna stamp this in both of the sections. So we're just going to ink this up. Make sure it's got good amount of ink on it. And then we'll start here with this one on the left. Ink it up again. This time we'll turn it a bit. And then maybe one from the top. Okay, so we've got that section done. Now we're gonna move to the top here. So again, inking this up. I love the black. You could of course stamp in Berry Burst or any other colors really that we used. But I think the black really makes our blending pop. And there's no like right or wrong of the placement of these, right? We're just really getting our images in all of our sections here. And now here's where the magic comes in, is when we remove our masking paper here. So we're just gonna get it from the edge. There we go. Okay, and so then I like to hold my paper and just real slowly kind of peel this back. You don't want to go too fast because it is a thinner masking paper. And look, if I go real fast, see, it'll rip, but it's okay. We'll just grab it from this other side. That way you guys can see, but if you go slow, then it doesn't do that. So we'll just peel that last little bit off. And if you get any little pieces here, they come off real easy. That's why I really love this. So I've used like masking tape or painter's tape before, and it will sometimes tear your paper up, but what I really don't love about it is it leaves like sticky residue. So I love our masking paper. And then we'll get our second one. So see, when I went faster, see what happens? That's okay. We will just peel this right off. And any little residue here, it comes off real easy. And then do you see how fun these little lines it gives us are, right? These white spaces. So it looks like it almost came that way, right? Like it came printed that way. There we go. One last little bit there. Okay, so do you see how we've got this beautiful white spaces now that are showing off our blending so beautifully? Okay, I always think this looks pretty too after, right? So now we're gonna stamp our sentiment. So we're gonna use black again. And this is I Am Grateful for You. It's a nice bold font, which I really love. You can read those so well, right? Okay, and then we're just gonna center this in that space that we didn't do any blending. Stamp that down. I like to hold it there for a second. And there we've got really the front layer of our card. How fun, right? So now we're gonna add a bit of ribbon. So for that, we're gonna use one of my favorite ribbons, which is this polka dot trim. And so it's thicker. So like if you make a bow with it, it's a big, thick bow, right? It's more firm. So with ribbon like this, what I like to do is just lay it flat. So no bow, no knot, no nothing. So for this, I'm gonna use some Stampin' Seal Plus. And we're just gonna put one line, hopefully you can see that, one line right down the middle of our skinny line here. Then we're just gonna take our polka dot trim here and center this over that Stampin' Seal, but also we're gonna have like a slight white border on the sides of it. Perfect for this, right? And then I put a little bit on the back for these tails to just stick to. And then this one, we'll just use my ribbon scissors, trim that. You wanna have enough that it goes around so that the ends don't flop up, right? Okay, so we've got our ribbon. So see, doesn't that trim just look so perfect when it's flat like that? And then I used the Berry Burst cardstock in this card. I used the Crumb Cake in this card. And what's fun is you really could use any of the colors we used to put this on. So, you know, Berry Burst, the Bubble Bath, or the Crumb Cake like we used. You could even pop it up on black. See, doesn't that look wow? Kind of makes all that black really pop. Or even on white. So any of those colors could be the base for your card. So I think today we will use Bubble Bath, since I didn't do that one yet. And so the first thing, we've got our just regular card base. We're gonna add our inside layer that we did in the beginning. And then our card is almost done. So it's simple, but a really fun technique with the masking and the blending. So we'll just add some liquid glue here to put our inside piece. And this really could be an all occasion card, right? Like it could be I'm grateful for you on the outside and then happy birthday inside, or anything like that, right? And then we're gonna put this on with some dimensionals on the back. So we'll just go ahead and pop these on all the corners here, and then along, put a couple here on the edge of our trim just to kind of extra hold it. And one more. And then we'll just peel the backings off of these, attach this, and then of course we have to add some bling, right? No card is complete without a little bling. One more. And we'll just center this on the front. And then for our bling, let me grab my take your pick tool to help me with this. And we're gonna use the shiny sequins today. Thought those look so pretty. The berry burst ones, right? So we'll put kind of right under this grateful, we'll add 2. And then 1 more, maybe up here. With our shiny sequins. I love these. They're bright and fun, right? So there is our card today. So we've got our berry burst, we've got our crumb cake, we've got our berry burst, and then we've got our bubble bath. So which is your favorite base? I mean, they all, I think, are my favorite. Who can pick just one, right? All right, well, remember, check out my blog at stampinqueenbee.com for all the measurements with the free printable PDF, or if you're subscribed to our weekly Buzz Bulletin, I will be sending that out shortly. So have a great day, and I'll see you guys next week for another fun card.